Luna 3's special program is finally here. Unfortunately, I was out of the country while the livestream was out, so I am a bit late to the party, but there are some of the few things that interests me, aside from the obvious, which is lore, but also the Hexarai resonance, which if you don't know, is basically another Moonsign resonance but in a different team setup. We'll talk about this in another video, but for today, we'll talk about the lore side of the special program and also small little details that you might miss. There are a lot of them, and it's also one of the main reasons why I'm a few days late when it comes to these videos. I'm trying to make quality content, alright? I'm like a fine dining fancy video making chef. I only serve what's ripe and in season. High quality stuff, only the finest, just for you. Please tell me you know the reference. As always, don't forget to give this video a like and comment so the channel can be noticed by the algorithm. My name is Glitchxcity and I make lore and commentary videos on this channel to keep you company. But before that, Arlecchino and Zhongli's banners are finally here. While they have fallen out of the meta, I own these characters myself and I can safely say that they're still good enough to use in this day and age in the endgame. However, you might want to keep a lookout for Durin, who is going to be our next Pyro sub DPS in the game and is going to be one of the strongest characters ever released so far. If you need extra Pyro gems to pull or save for Durin, then allow me to introduce you to Loot Bar. Loot Bar is a reliable site for a fast, secure, and super reliable top-up experience for your Genesis Crystal. Additionally, they provide 25% discounts compared to normal prices in-game. Once you start your top-up, they will only ask for your UID, nothing else, so your privacy is guaranteed, and your items will arrive to your account in less than 2 minutes, including the first double top-up rewards if you haven't done that yet. With Miliastro Wonderland's release, you can also top up Kernel Nexus in Loot Bar the same way as you do it with Primogems. If you're playing on consoles like PlayStation 5 or Xbox, they're available for both of them as well. Over 20,000 Trustpilot reviews are showing their satisfaction after using Loot Bar, and if you have any problem with your transaction, their customer service is always available around the clock to help you out. Other than Genshin Impact, Loot Bar is also available for other games as well, such as Honkai Star Rail, Wuthering Waves, Sailor Zone Zero, etc. Click the link in the description below and register to get an additional 10% coupon that can be combined with all other discounts and receive special discounts for returning customers along with 1 week limited lucky draw event for lucky users. Remember, discounts are great, but don't forget to spend responsibly. Now let's continue with the content. Let me just say this before we start. Durin's VA is British.
Since his soul originated from Mini Durin, in addition to the power of the Abyss, he also possesses a power that comes from fairy tales.
And it's really satisfying to hear his real voice in the livestream. Anyway, the first thing we'll learn in the teaser is the Moon Prayer Night, which if you don't know, was mentioned to us from Llama in Luna 1 Arc Conquest. She mentioned that the moon will be the closest to Tevat in around 2 months or so, which is not too different from the timeline because in actuality, it's around 3 months in our time. But regardless, it's also said that this will be made into a festival because Columbia will return to the moon after the festival is over. I would say this makes sense for her to do that because the moon will be the closest to Tevat during that time, and the Kuvaki in Notcry will also reach its peak, which is also her chance. If there's a time where Columbina can return to the moon, then it will be this time. But of course, that will not be the case because the Hexagon mothers are here and Alice says that Columbina's intended method will not work anymore. Also, forget your Klee came out of nowhere theory. Alice is already taken and they make sure for you to let that know because of her wedding ring. Now, the livestream immediately explains to us why she's here, and unsurprisingly, my Not Cry Exordia episode and Game Before the Gate boss analysis already explained her overall role as well. Now let me get you up to speed about those videos. So the livestream told us that Alice's role as Hex and Circle Mage is to maintain the world's borders. But if you own Skirk, she actually talked about Alice as the sustainer of the world's borders. It's further elaborated in her story quest where Alice told Skirk to not intervene with Tevat's conflicts. I also mentioned that Alice's role could more than likely be bestowed upon her by a shade, likely Asmodee in this case. I only say this because the Hexen Circle was implied to have been formed after the Cataclysm, meaning the time when Asmodee also went missing. If she's gone, then she needs at least someone to maintain Tevat's borders or the false sky, and that role seems to be given to Alice. Personally, I think this made a lot of sense because it's more than not that Asmodee knew how powerful Alice is. She is capable of controlling space as we see in the Golden Apple Archipelago, the Fairlurian village, and even Simulanka where the space is controlled by her. Quite uncanny how similar the color palette is to Asmodee, and it's possible that Alice is the strongest mage in the Coven and possibly more powerful than Rydot, who is now a Shade. But I also have some doubts about this theory as time goes on, and I'll talk about that later. Speaking of Alice, she also talked about the trilunar syzygy. Now this phenomena obviously doesn't happen in the real world, but the word syzygy itself does. It's basically when three celestial bodies align in a straight line, and the eclipse, whether solar or lunar, are also count as a syzygy. So when Alice mentioned the trilunar syzygy, she meant the moment where the three moons of Teyvat came into one straight line. In Teyvat's terminology, when that occurs, the borders of Teyvat will become less stable and more prone to abyssal invasion. Alice actually told us why, and the borders, assuming both Nordcry and the False Sky, are there to block out the abyssal energy outside of it. It kinda makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why does the trilunar syzygy make it possible for the abyss to invade Teyvat? But the more you think about it, the more it made sense because it's hinted in the Song of Welcome Moon concept webpage that Nordcry is hinted to be either of these two things: the fourth moon that failed to ascend, or remnants of the moons that was supposed to be a part of the three moons but ended up not ascending. We'll talk about the fourth moon in another day, or you can watch my past videos where I talk about these things in great detail. However, there's a more possible answer. You see, two of the moons have already shattered while the frost moon is the only one that remains. So for the trilunar syzygy to happen, it's kinda impossible unless the fragments of the other two somehow form the syzygy with its shattered form. This might be the reason why Columbina can't return, because two moons have already shattered. The Guvaki might not be enough, or maybe in its unpure form, who knows. In any case, we also see figures that appear in Nordcry in the form of phantoms, and more excitingly, the Traveler sibling spaceship. It appeared at Star Sand Shoal, the same place where the cave is. Strangely enough, there's this rock on top of the shoal, which, by the way, while I don't think it'll be connected with the spaceship at all, it might be related to space. Because the main point of it existing is related to the Nothing Passage world quest, but never explained to us why it's there. But speaking of the spaceship, I think I can conclude what kind of topic we're going to talk about in the next quest. Space, and likely Hyperborea. I say that because the promotional art somehow shows everyone inside the sphere, while Columbina is hugging it. It's as if the sphere is Teyvat while Columbina is outside of it. As for Hyperborea, one of the frames in the trailer shows an interesting scene where the phantoms are praying, and if the ones talking indeed are one of the Hyperborean high priests, or maybe Frostmoon Science's harsh priests, then it's possible that all of this happened thousands of years ago, or maybe after Hyperborea was destroyed by the heavenly principles. As for space, I personally think this will be the main theme. After all, we are talking about trilunar syzygy, Alice as the sustainer of the world's borders is here, and Columbina attempting to return to the moon. All of that has to relate to space. So if that's the case, it's possible that we might get a mention, or at worst, meet Asmodee in this Archon quest. I personally find the second possibility to be a stretch, but getting a mention is very possible. Honestly, I'm hoping that this one is true because the parallels of it being false is just disappointing. Now moving on from Alice, we also get a model reveal for another mage, Nicole Rain or N. I have two feelings for her: one, mother, and two, she's Pyro and wields a fission instead of a moon wheel. I am of course really sad because we have 3 Hexacircle, make it 4 if you count Glee, as Pyro characters. But at the same time, I'm not surprised because we only get 1 Pyro character throughout Natlan and we desperately need Pyro sub DPSs and supports anyway. Lore-wise, however, it also made sense because it's always a recurring theme that Pyro relates to death and rebirth. Nicole's case is special because when the angels were cursed by the heavenly principles, they either retained their form but became significantly weaker, or they turned into a Seelie. As for Nicole, Wolfie implies her to be in the middle, and Skirk reveals that she became a human instead. We are further revealed by Alice and the prophecy slip in the imaginary theater that Nicole is vocally mute and can only speak inside people's minds, hence why we don't see her moving her mouth at all in the previews. She even has her own dialogue box when she talks, but in any case, this is the main reason why she is Pyro, because she went through death and rebirth. Her color palette also seems to hint at her using blue fire to attack enemies, something that is similar to what you see when you lit up your stove, or maybe Azula from Avatar. As for who her parental figure is, which by the way is also a recurring theme in Pyro, I personally have no idea, but it could very likely be the first angel or Koitak, since as an angel, Nicole should live during the Hyperborea era. In fact, it's a lot more evident with the triquetra symbol all over her design, which relates to the three moon goddesses. Nicole also has this hairpin, which is quite similar to the biblically accurate angels, or is just the Hex and Circle logo stuff, who knows. However, I also want to mention that Nicole's eyes, while people might find her relates to Kyanvia or the Voyager, I find her to be related to alchemy because her eyes look very similar to the alchemist symbol in the game. This goes the same with Albedo as well, where he has the similar star shape on his neck, and even Durin has it as well in some parts of his clothing. So it's possible that she even got her form right now using a synthetic body, which could relate to her being a creation of Rhindaughter or Nuberius in some way. I theorize this to be the case as well in my Not Cry Exodia, so you can watch that if you're interested. Now that we talk about the main quests, let's talk about everything else. Starting from Durin, he refers to Rhindaughter as aunt instead of mother. Even though in the current state of Durin's form right now, where he is a fusion of Mini Durin and Dragonspine Durin, technically he should call Rhindaughter as mother as well. But it makes sense for him to call her aunt because the current Durin we have right now is Mini Durin in human form, not Dragonspine Durin, and Mini Durin's mother is Anders' daughter, who is the writer of the world of Simulanka. What is inside him, however, is the blood of Dragonspine Durin, and we see him eventually visiting Dragonspine. We also learned that the whole reason Durin's story quest even happened is because of Anders' daughter's dying wish. Now, I think I know what this dying wish is, and judging from the origins of Mini Durin's existence, it seems her dying wish, or the unfinished story as mentioned by Durin, is to free Dragonspine's Durin. It's just a hunch for now since his story is related to 4 mages, that being Alice, Anders' daughter, Barbeloth, and Rhindaughter, which 3 of them are the goddesses of Simulanka, while Rhindaughter is the creator of Dragonspine Durin. As for the Dragonspine scene, I think it relates to Anders' daughter's wish. Now I theorize that Durin might have 2 personalities, or at least have 2 consciousness, that being Mini Durin's and Dragonspine's Durin. Since he seems to get out of control in Dragonspine, it seems this is the time where Dragonspine Durin starts to take over. It kinda makes my theory a bit more plausible because we learned that Durin will always scare off creatures near him because of the abyssal energy inside of him. His idle animation proves this to be the case as well, where the flower that he holds suddenly withers away. It's also a lot more evident with his gameplay because he has 2 states, the light state which relates to Mini Durin while dark state that relates to Dragonspine Durin. In any case, if you want to learn more about Durin, you can watch my previous video for that, link on top of the screen. But before we continue, I just want to mention that Durin's title is the Undying Fire, which is the same title that the mages gave to Anders' daughter in The Little Witch and the Undying Fire. I'd say it really goes full circle, doesn't it? Now, the rest of these are related to Hexarray characters, not the gameplay because that deserves its own video, but the lore. In Durin's case, I'm pretty sure it's obvious that his story quest could likely be his witch's homework as well. Now, the description of witch's homework basically refers to the characters related to the Hexacircle to be prepared for what's to come. It's always hinted that Mondstadt and Notcry are related, let alone Farkar came to Notcry from Mondstadt specifically, a city that is literally translated as the Moon City. Fancy's VA also says that the Hex and Circle's powers can affect fate as well and can change the character's constellation, which yeah, it does happen in gameplay, but other than that, it seems it talks about the actual fate of these characters. We learned in Skirk's story quest that Stella Fortunus can evolve, so it's likely that the mages are capable of doing just that without having the owners of these constellations experience death. Fenty's homework relates to the Nameless Island back in 1.0. You see, this world quest is the very first time that we learn about Istaroth, let alone the concept of the Shades, because this island specifically is apparently where Fancy and Istaroth communicate. Considering that the Traveler and Paimon already visited this place before, let alone fought the Eye of the Storm that Istaroth likely sent, then it's possible that we might hear her voice in Fanty's homework as well. Fanty's VA even specifies herself being the voice of Istaroth.
I'm Erica Harlicker-Stone, the voice of Easteroth, the ruler of time, and Venti, our good old animal Archon.
Given, the VAs always specify who their voice is, but you're here for my overthinking BS, so stick to the program. This also confirms a very popular theory that Fenty has been holding back this whole time, even when Signorus stole his Gnosis. In this quest, Fenty will unlock his true powers, and based on the special program, it seems that he'll become a main DPS, which is something that I find very interesting to think about. If that's the case, just know that if you own Polar Star, throw your child away and use it on Fenty if you don't want to pull for his second signature weapon. Mona's case could likely relate to the Kainrian Gate, which I think makes a lot of sense. While I don't think Mona is a Kainrian, her master might be, because Mona's charge attack looks very similar to the symbol on the gate. Since she is Barbalot's disciple, it's possible that this charge attack symbol came from her. But still, it's very surreal that we even visit this place again, because all this time, it's just there. Even after Caverna of Good and Evil World Quest, they don't really acknowledge this place other than it's a gate to Kaenria, and you have to discover this place yourself. It did mention Kaenria in one way or another and Dainsleif, but it did not mention the gate at all. The fact that two forgotten places are mentioned here is interesting, and judging from all of these homeworks, all of them seems to have some sort of lore relevancy at one point. Razor's case is interesting because it's more than not related to Boreas. If you don't know, Boreas is the god that gave Farka his power and also the one that adopted Razor. Currently, their relationship is as simple as an adopted family, but it seems we might learn more about that, maybe Boreas' origin and also the wolves. Man, it took them 5 years to even create actual wolves in Mondstadt. Horses will be in 10 years to come. Sucrose likely relates to life, or even creating weird life forms with alchemy, since it has always been what she does, but looking at the Wobble Flower that she's facing, it's likely related to the mutated Wobble Flower back in 1.2 event. Man, that event was like a really long time ago, and the fact we're facing it again feels so weird. Well, they did say that Durin's quest will have a lot of Easter eggs, and I'm pretty sure the homeworks will be as well. The rest of them are things that I don't know much about, at least not at the moment. They say that Clay's homework is related to Dodoko, which I can't really say much about since the doll doesn't really have a lot of things for me to talk about. However, it could relate to Alice's background because Dodoko was created by her. It might even relate to her origin. Albedo might be related to his mother Reinhard because, I mean, honestly, that's all I can think about for now. In Fischl's case, this one is interesting because it might be related to Imenaktrach, a fantasy world in Genshin's novel series. The book itself is a very straightforward fantasy novel, but what's interesting is the dragon in that book called Tasrak. You see, the game never really acknowledges this dragon, and the first time we even learn about it is in 2.8 event, not from that book itself. It is then mentioned again in Atlan out of all places, where you can't name your little buddy with this name. In more recent times, it's mentioned in Durin's street marketing description as Fischl mentions Tasrak, linking him to Durin. Since the dragon seems to be an important part of the novel that even little buddy doesn't like the name, it's possible that we will learn more about this dragon in Fischl's homework quest. Finally, Wanderer, which I find very funny for him to just appear in the Fatuous facility. In case you've forgotten, Wanderer used to be a harbinger named Scaramouche. He deleted himself in the Irminsul, causing everyone that is native to Teyvat forget about his existence. It seems Wanderer is asking about the tourist's whereabouts, and judging from how it goes, the two likely just gave it away because they hated it. Not a surprise, everyone hates Totore. Honestly, that's it. I really tried to extend this video as much as possible, but the information we learned from the livestream is very new to me and hard to theorize on. It's not little information, there's a lot in fact, it's just that they're new information for me. However, to end this video, let me give you one thing to think about. If my theory ends up being true, then we are entering the era of the Shades in this update. Randall's appearance in Durin's homework means that Nabirius will also be present, albeit indirectly. You can think of it like how Nabirius and Randall talk in the God's Limits trailer, so it's very likely that we'll hear Nabirius speak in here as well. However, there's one thing that I find really weird. Remember when I said Asmodee might bestow her power to Alice? If that's the case, then I would assume that the Shades would even notice the Hexacicle's appearance to be weird. Alice can manipulate space, and if her powers do came from Asmodee, then I would assume that the Shades would notice that, unless Asmodee did something to herself that made it impossible for the Shades to notice. This is where I find the theory to be questionable. Fenton's homework also means that Istaroth will be involved, and finally in Outcry, with Alice's presence, we'll likely get to learn Asmodeus' role as well. It seems that these three entities being present in the game means something interesting and big is about to happen. It's been a popular theory since Space and Time for You Are Conquest that Asmodee and Istaroth are likely working together. It's very likely that Istaroth knows where Asmodee is right now, it's just that she is trying to hide it from everyone else. Istaroth hinted that Asmodee might be working with someone else, and Renova hinted that she might like her new master more than she loves herself. Again, I don't think that Asmodeus' new master is Alice, but it could be someone else. Whether that's the Abyss, the Moon, the Abyss Twin, or even Paimon, we have no idea. Everything will be revealed in the new version, but for now, it's best for us to just think about it and keep on coping. In any case, I hope you enjoyed today's video and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Jana!